I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're unlocking the imagination of childhood in a delightful new story written by a wonderful author. Her name is Kari Kling, and she has penned a book you're just going to love. It is called Grandma Helen's No-No Room, and she takes readers on a whimsical journey filled with curiosity, wonder, and family magic. It's a charming tale about two sisters who can't resist finding out what's behind the hidden, forbidden door. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Kari, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Logan.
It is my pleasure to have you on the show. It's a wonderful book, so inspired, so imaginative, and feels very real. Is it somehow inspired by your own experience or a story you heard? Tell us a little bit about the background.
Sure, it is. It's a true story, Logan. And when my sister and I were little girls, we lived in New York and we had grandparents, our grandma Helen and my grandfather
Mhm.
lived in a very small apartment in New York City. And we would go and visit her, and she would tell us you can go anywhere in the apartment, which again wasn't very big.
Yeah.
But we were not allowed to go in her room. There was an extra room,
Mm.
and she would say, "No, no, you mustn't ever go in there." And of course, the more she said that, the more we wondered what could be behind the door. And it really captured our imaginations as children of what could be back there.
Exactly. It's like banning a book. You ban a book, you want to read it. Grandma says you can't go through that door. Heck, you want to get through that door or at least figure out what's behind it. So it became a good, big mystery for you. What were some of the things that you imagined might be behind that door?
Oh, that's a great question, Logan. One time I remember this, and this is in the book. We saw a little part of, I think it was a scarf sticking out from underneath the door, and there were stars on it. And so, of course, our imaginations automatically thought there must be wizards there, and they grant her wishes. And that's how she has so many beautiful things and goes on wonderful trips. I remember she used to talk about all when I was young, and if I knew then what I knew now. And she would talk about her wrinkles, and she wants to do things to
Mm.
get rid of them. And so we were convinced that she had a time machine back there. She went back to her childhood, so many things. It was such a wonderful part of my childhood, my sister's childhood, and our memories today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if she had a room with a time machine where you could get rid of your wrinkles and your aging and stuff, sign me up. I'll get through
Yeah,
that door right away, without a doubt.
exactly.
This really stuck with you. I mean, it's really a big part of your childhood. Tell me about how it impacted you and your sister and why you decided to write about it and the discussions that you had about that room in adulthood.
Oh, and it's continued to this day, all these years later. It began for me really thinking about I want to do something with it when I was over 40 years ago when I began my teaching career.
Mm.
And at the first few years, I was teaching second grade, and I would read stories to my students all the time. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about Grandma Helen's no-no room and what a fun story it would be for them. And it was seriously about 25 years later. One night I just couldn't sleep, and I thought, I'm just going to go to my computer. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to type it out. And I did. And I didn't show anybody till a few years ago. Like I said, it was about 25 years ago that happened.
Mm.
And I had the opportunity a few years ago to present it to the publisher of Briley and Baxter Publications. She said, "I love it. Let's do it. I want you to add to it." And here we are.
Wonderful, wonderful. What do you think Grandma Helen would say if she saw that book today?
I think Grandma Helen would be laughing. In fact, I make jokes with my sister now that she's probably, laughing from above at all of the things that we imagined that could be going on in there.
Exactly. Do you think she realized at the time by her saying, don't go in that room, no, no, that it was having such an impact on you that you were like crazed to find out what's behind that door?
I don't have any idea, but I really don't think so, Logan.
Yeah,
She never, mentioned anything other than no, no, and
yeah.
it carried on um, through. Now my sister has 6 kids. They're all grown now, but it carried on through, my sister's children's childhood, and that became the sequel that I
Mm.
wrote.
And that's Aunt Katrina's No-No Room or something like that. Tell us
Yes,
about
it's
that
Aunt
book.
Katrina's no room. And my father used to call me Katrina, even though that wasn't my real name. He
Mhm.
just used to make names up for people, and
Yeah.
that was mine. Anyway, so when my sister's kids used to come over to my home, I used to tell them, and I wasn't even thinking about Grandma Helen. I used to tell them, you can go anywhere in the house, anywhere in the backyard, but please don't go in my office because I had papers and, things I didn't want messed around with.
Yeah.
Well, it all became a cycle that continued because they started wondering what could be in Aunt Katrina. They called me Aunt Kari, but Aunt Kari's no room, Aunt Katrina's no room. And so they would make guesses, and the whole cycle of imagination began once again.
Amazing, amazing. It's so great. I think that's the wonder of these books is that it has children wondering again. I think in this digital age, kids are too controlled, too programmed to look at their phones and their pads and all that stuff. But to like dream and wonder what's in a closet is a fascinating part of childhood, don't you think? Or
You
whatever
are
that was in that room.
Yes, you are so on target with that, Logan. I also do one-on-one parent coaching, and so I'm sharing what I'm about to say from the perspective not only of being a mother of 23-year-old twins, twin boys, but as an educator, as someone who's been a counselor. This is universal.
Mhm.
Kids were innately have that curiosity to want to investigate, want to explore. But the thing that really is worrisome to me as a person who has worked with children and families for over 40 years is the amount well, let me say the lack of time, free time that kids have to play, to develop their
Mhm.
imaginations. So many children today, and I know this is a generalization, but have so many structured activities, whether it's, sports or other academic things. But everything is structured, and so many kids go to school, they go to their activities, they come home, they eat dinner, they do homework, and this cycle continues.
Hmm.
And we have evidence that that's not good because we have so many, we have the highest percentage of children that we've ever had dealing with anxiety, depression. I can go on and on and on. And then the screens.
Yeah.
Um, add to that, we have more children in front of a screen now than we ever have had because the screens are so readily available. And we have research that it really is starting to impact how a child's brain is being rewired, and
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah, I think it stifles your imagination. I think kids do need free play where they can go, Mom, I'm going out to play and
Mhm.
just go out and play. I know in this age of being afraid of stranger abductions, which is so rare, kids don't go out and just play anymore. It's a play date, or it's like you said, it's gymnastics at 3, ballet at 4, equestrian at 5. And all that's great and wonderful and good, but you do need time to just play,
Yeah.
King of the Hill or War or the kind of games that we played growing up, don't you think?
Yeah, or making up our own games. And I want to put this out there to parents everywhere. I know that it feels when we do all of those structured activities that we're supporting our children and we're helping them and we're giving them opportunities, but a lot of the time it's too much. Like you said, children need that unstructured time. And here's the other part of it that I share with parents all over the world
Mhm.
is that it's not just about imagination, but giving a child the time to develop and nurture their imagination leads to higher cognitive skills,
Mhm.
better language development, improved social skills. It's an umbrella for everything else that we want. It just might not be measured on a standardized test.
Absolutely, absolutely. You need time to just play. You need time to just think. You need time to wonder and imagine what's behind that door. I wonder, could it be? anything, an anti-age machine, wizards and warlocks, or whatever is behind the door in Grandma Helen's no-no room. Have you envisioned these great books as TV shows or little films for kids or anything like that?
I'm so glad that you asked me that question, Logan. When I first wrote the books, I really wasn't thinking about anything other than,
Right.
publishing the books. But since they've been published, my readers have been giving me such valuable feedback about, these books would make, like you said, great TV series for children, or, a movie, whether it's animated or, real people acting. But my real mission with these books and what I'm trying to do is to help parents recognize that kids need this time. They need time to play. They need time to have downtime and just, daydream, and it's all part of it. And childhood isn't for most kids today what it was for people in my generation, and others, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm glad I grew up in the 70s because kids today don't know what they're missing out on to just walk to the candy store and get some candy with their friends or walk through the woods and
Mhm.
not have your mother have you on an electronic leash all the time where she can track your location. Good God, I would have probably been in big trouble all of the time if my
Oh
mother could track
my.
my location, that's for sure. Any more books coming from you? Are you thinking about expanding the series at all?
Um, right now I'm thinking about it. I don't have anything concrete to tell you about that. I have a couple of parenting books that I'm working on based on my 43 years of being an educator and a
Yeah,
counselor. Kids, the world is a complicated place today, so much more so than when you and I were younger.
yeah,
And parents need help. Parenting is a difficult job. And parents sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the time, feel that if they need to ask for help, or if they don't know what to do, they feel that they're inadequate sometimes. And I just want every parent out there to know, you know what? Just nobody has all of the answers. I do this for a living
yeah.
and I didn't have all of the answers. So, love your kids, give them time, be with them. It's more important than buying them a thing or a certain class. It's about the relationships that we build.
Yeah, relationships are so important. And instead of a digital toy or another video game or something, how about getting them some clay,
Yeah.
some, finger paints, let them make a mess, let them be kids.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great freedom to be had in getting unplugged, both for adults and children. I think
Mhm.
we all need a reboot, a reset there, without a doubt. I got to tell you, your book reminded me of an experience I had as a kid. I grew up in an old house in New Rochelle, New York. I mentioned that to you before. And at the basement of this house, and the basement looked very, very haunted, there was a doorway.
See,
And it
there's your
was
imagination.
exactly. And it was nailed shut. And I was so curious my whole childhood what could be behind that door. Nobody told me, no, no, don't go in there. But it
Mhm.
was impossible to access because it was nailed. Eventually, when I was about 14-year-old, I got a crowbar and I opened it up. And behind the door was a brick wall. There was nothing there. So I should have left it alone and kept on wondering what was behind the uh, door in my basement in New Rochelle. I'm not going to ask you what was actually behind the door at Grandma Helen's house. I think people should read the book and find out firsthand and let their own imaginations and curiosities wander a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job on this book. The name of the books we've been talking about today are Grandma Helen's No-No Room and Aunt Katrina's No-No Room, both written by a terrific author by the name of Kari Kling. It is a magical story that proves sometimes the greatest adventures are found in places we're told not to go. Kari, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's been all mine. Love your work, love your insight, love your take on parenting and childhood development. I think it's much, much needed. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.